Today I'm going to show you why Trinidad has the best curried oxtail. This dish is deeply rooted in the fusion of African and Indian influences that characterize Trinidad and Tobago's cuisine. The tradition of slow cooking tougher cuts of meat like oxtail in a rich curry sauce reflects both the resourcefulness of the African diaspora and the Indian community's influence on the island's food culture. This practice of utilizing all parts of the animal is a tradition passed down through generations, emphasizing sustainability and respect for resources. The dish's history of blending African and Indian influences, its role in family and festive occasions, and its reflection of resourcefulness and cultural identity make it a significant and cherished part of Trinbagonian cuisine. Alright, so the first step in our curried oxtail is to season the oxtail. So here we have our washed oxtail. What I like to wash it in lime juice if you don't have lemon juice. If you don't have lime juice, lemon juice is a good option, or even vinegar. So we're just gonna go in with some salt. And remember, you want to season as you go. So there's the first seasoning step. Some salt. And you go to some black pepper. A little more. Next, some curry powder. And lastly, some green seasoning. Now, if you're not familiar with green seasoning, this has shadow benny, chive, ginger, a few different thymes, garlic, pimento, hot pepper. Some people like to put salt and or vinegar to help preserve their green seasoning as well. So what you do, you just put it in a food processor, a blender, and you just process it down to this consistency. And ideally what you want to do, if possible, is season this like the night before and let it sit and allow it to marinate and soak up all the flavors before your curry. If you don't have that luxury, I would say minimum 2 to 4 hours covered in your refrigerator. Alright, so we're just going to cover this up and let this marinate. Alright, so here we have our pot. What we did, we heated it. So there's a good opportunity to show you the signs of when your stainless steel is properly heated. What will happen? So here I just have some water, and what will happen is the water bubbles should start to dance. So you see that? You see how they're moving around? That tells you your stainless steel is properly heated. So when you're having problems with stuff sticking to your stainless steel, more times than not, the reason is it's not properly heated. So just take some time and apply some patience and properly heat up your stainless steel before you start to cook with it. Alright, so once the bubbles dissolve, we're going in with some coconut oil. If you prefer vegetable oil or no oil, you could do that as well. Right, and to that we're going in with some crushed garlic. Crushing it helps to release the natural oils in the garlic, some thinly sliced onion, and some sliced pimento peppers with the seeds. So we want to coat all these ingredients in the coconut oil and let them cook and start to turn brown in color. Alright, so you can see how the onions, the garlic starting to turn brown in color. So about 2 minutes has passed. So what we're going to do now, we're going in with some whole Geera or Cumin seeds and some whole Fenugreek or Methi seeds. I just want to mix it incorporate it and let it start to toast in the oil. Alright, so a minute has passed. So now what we're going to do, we're going to add in some more curry powder. So what I did, I just hydrated it with some water. Helps to open up the pores. Remember, curry powder is a dehydrated product. So ideally, it needs to be hydrated before you can activate it. So we're going straight into the pot. I'm going to mix in, incorporate. And what you want to do, now this is hot, but what you want to do, you want to bring this down to a thick paste. You want it to almost be sticking to your pot. Alright, so now as you can see, there's no liquid remaining. It's not quite sticking as yet. So now is the time to add in the oxtail, but I want to use this opportunity to talk about something else. Now, depending on what you're cooking, for instance, chicken or something that would not take as long as oxtail, I would even go further to add some more water and hydrate the curry a second time and bringing it down to a thick paste a second time before you add in your meat. But because this oxtail is going to take a little while to cook, that longer cooking process will do that, because a lot of times people find themselves needing to add more curry powder, not realizing what it is you really need to do is to properly hydrate the curry to activate it. So what we're going to do now, we're just going to add in our seasoned oxtail. We want to take your time and mix the oxtail to properly incorporate all that curry paste and all the pieces of your oxtail. You're not going to add any water yet. What you want to do, you want to let the heat work for you. The heat is going to heat up the oxtail and help it to render its fat and natural juices. And you want to let that liquid slowly cook and begin to break down the oxtail before you rush to add in any additional liquid. So we're just gonna give it a good mix, and then what you want to do, you want to try your best to evenly spread it out. This helps to evenly cook the oxtail. Scrape down all the sides. And with the fire on medium to low, we're just going to cover and let this braise. What that basically means is allow the oxtail to release its fat, natural juices, and to slowly cook down. You can see it's already happening here. All these bubbles here on the side here, that's the liquid starting to be released. So we're just going to cover and give it 5 minutes and come back. Alright, so it's been 5 minutes. So let's uncover and we can see. So you see, we've seen some rendering taking place. You see all this liquid here. So what we want to do now is we're just going to turn the oxtails and continue the process for another 5 minutes. Nothing is sticking, so the heat is good. So that's a good sign too. So if you find things are sticking, just drop your heat, because you don't want to cook this on a high heat just yet. In order to effectively render the fat and juices, this needs to be done over a low heat. So we just need to apply some patience here. So we're just gonna cover the oxtail and leave it for another 5 minutes over low heat. Alright, so the second round of 5 minutes has passed. You can see it's still just starting to stick slightly. The liquid is continuing to render down, which is what we want. Try my best to evenly spread the oxtail again. Right, now we can add the liquid. So from here, I'm adding some coconut milk. Of course, if you don't want to add coconut milk, you could just go straight and just add in some hot water here. We want to add enough to cover. So if the coconut milk doesn't do that, I'm just simply gonna add in some hot water. And you always want to add in hot liquids to a hot pot so it doesn't slow down or stop the cooking process. You know, some of you may season and then pressure cook the oxtail. I prefer to cook it slowly, which is why I'm doing it this way. So you just want enough liquid to cover. I'm not going to be stirring it up too much because I don't really want to disturb it too much. Just adding in a whole hot pepper. That's not paste or anything, because we just want the flavor of the pepper to be released with minimal heat. And I'm just going to cover this and leave it over. You want it to simmer, so you could just raise the heat, bring it to a boil, but this is already pretty hot, which is why you're seeing the bubbles already happening. We want to bring this to a boil, reduce it down to a simmer, and let this slowly cook our oxtails until fork tender. What will also happen is that the liquid will continue to reduce and thicken up. What you could do, depending on the oxtail, sometimes you get a whole oxtail and it's taking a little longer to cook. So it's just something you just have to monitor. So what I'll do, I'll just gonna cover this and we'll come back and check in 15 minute to half hour intervals. All right, so it's been about an hour. So let's check on our oxtail. So as you can see, we're running on a low simmer. Sauce is already starting to thicken up. Nothing is sticking to the bottom. If you check our oxtail, they're still tough. So not even gonna bother to try and pierce it with a knife, because just by looking at it, you could tell how hard they are. Just by pressing up against it, you could tell how hard they are. So we're just gonna cover and let this continue to cook and check back like within the next half hour to 45 minutes. Now remember what I said, it really depends on the type of oxtail you get. Sometimes you get a whole oxtail, sometimes you get a young oxtail. So it's really something that you just have to monitor and cook accordingly. All right, y'all, so here we're almost finished with the oxtail. We have one more ingredient to add, but I like to add this when the oxtail is more or less cooked and we really just thicken in the sauce. So to check your oxtail, see if I can get a whole one. Lovely. Right. So to check your oxtail, I'm just taking a knife, a regular paring knife, and you want the meat to be tender to the cut. You don't want to have to force through. See? Okay, so that's bone. Alright, so here we have some whole meat. Alright, so it still has a little bite to it. You know, the knife is running through. Still has a little bite to it, so I would say about 20-25 minutes again. Gonna be adding in some butter beans. You could add in potato. Some people like to add pigeon peas as well. I mean, it's really up to you, but I just like the added texture the butter bean gives. It also helps to thicken the sauce as well. So I'm just spreading out. I'm not doing too much turning here because I don't want to mash up the oxtail. And this is a shallow dish, so as long as I evenly spread everything out, it'll cook evenly. So I'm just going to let this go for another 15 to 20 minutes. And after that, you're just checking for the tenderness again. You're checking for the thickness of your sauce, how much sauce you want, and you're tasting for salt. Yeah, so we're just gonna cover and let the meat finish cook, and then we'll plate up for you. All right, y'all. So here we have our curried oxtail with our butter beans. So as you can see, you don't technically need a pressure cooker. A slow cooker will work just fine as well, but you know, with a little patience, you could get that fork tender oxtail without completely obliterating the oxtail. So I hope you found value in this, and as always, please continue to share your feedback with us. Send us your pictures and videos in the comments, DMs. We always love hearing from you all. Thanks so much. Bye.